Hi, my name's Adam, and today I'm going to be going over the best corals for beginner hobbyists and why. So, in no particular order, number one, Zoanthids. They're a great coral that is extremely hardy, they're small, and they come in every color in the rainbow. This is great for beginner hobbyists because you can literally put them in high flow, highlight, low light. These corals are almost bulletproof. They come in some of the most beautiful colors. So even advanced hobbyists still really love collecting these corals, and they're really easy to propagate. So once you have a little bit of success, you can trade with your fellow hobbyists to add to your collection. Not my favorite, but definitely a really important mention is leather corals. Leather corals are great corals. They're very hardy. They're very easy to keep for a lot of aquarists. I've had no problems with them. Most beginning hobbyists don't have a problem with them. The only problem I do have with them is they get really large, which means at some point you might need a really large aquarium, or you can actually cut a ring around the leather coral, in this case it's the mushroom coral, and pull it off and then make frags and trade to your friends. But it does grow pretty big, so at some point this is going to be a maintenance to upkeep the size of this coral as it grows. But on the other hand, it's really cool when you look at someone's aquarium and you see a really big giant leather coral. Obviously I have one in my 150-gallon aquarium at work and I love it. So it's a good coral, but just know what you're getting into. This coral could get really large. If you have a little bit of flow in your aquarium, Gorgonians are a great fit for your aquarium. There is quite a few species of photosynthetic Gorgonians. You're going to want to make sure it is, and they do require a decent amount of flow. They'll kind of get a little mucus around them if you don't brush them off or get enough flow to blow the mucus off of them. They grow medium fast. I wouldn't say they're the fastest growing, and they're not the slowest growing. They're easy to take care of, and it adds kind of that branching look to your aquarium, which I like the look of. And there's not a lot of beginner corals that add that branching look that aren't acropora, which is, by the way, not a beginner coral. It's a great coral. It's definitely something to move into as you advance in your hobby. Something like a green cymer would be great, but not a beginner coral for the acropora. Go with a Gorgonian or something that branches like that. You'll be a lot happier, it's a lot easier, and you can move up from there. So one that you might not think about is Scalini. Scalini are large LPS corals, very meaty flesh. They love eating, so you can often get a feeding response out of them. They are photosynthetic though, so you don't have to feed them every single day to keep them alive. This is my first Scalini I've ever kept, and it seems to be a fairly slow-growing, easy coral. And I've had a lot of other beginning hobbyists say that they've had really good luck with Scalini. The big downside is probably going to be the price point. Most of the Scalini I've seen anywhere from $80 to like $500, and mind you, this is 2020, so that price may change. Next year they could be $10 or $2,000, who knows. But they're a simple, easy to take care of coral, and I believe they originate in Australia, so that supply chain should still be coming in, and they're not very hard to take care of. So my favorite coral for the sand bed, whether you're advanced aquarist, intermediate, or beginner, is Xenia. They are easy to take care of. They sit on the sand bed. They have some great motion. They're big, they're meaty. If they get sand dumped on them by a fish or a crab or anything, they can just brush the sand off. They do like eating, so it's kind of fun to watch their feeding response. If they catch a mysis shrimp, they open up and they swallow it. They're not horribly priced right now, but you know, aquarium hobby, that can change next week. So the most popular coral, I think, in the LPS section right now is going to be your torch corals and euphyllias. So this is going to be your hammer corals like I have, or torch corals. They have long flowing tentacles, but they still have a nice skeleton. So a lot of people look at them and think that they're soft corals, and then are surprised to find out they're hard corals, but they are hard corals. They do slowly grow. Some of them faster than others. Don't ask me which ones grow faster. If I knew, I'd probably be growing those ones. They're fairly inexpensive when it comes to like the hammer corals. The torch corals right now, 2020, have gotten really expensive, but they're still a great coral and easy to take care of. and look great in your aquarium, adding a nice fluid motion to the aquarium, depending on how much your flow is. And my first LPS that I ever got was actually acans. I still love these corals. They look nice to me. They do grow in aquariums, and you can frag them. A lot of people have to use a saw though to frag them, so they're not the best for fragging, but they grow and they kind of take over rock. They're not the fastest. They're a member of the brain coral family, but I still love this coral, and it's easy for beginners. So if you like them, it's a great fit for you. I don't think they're as popular today as they were 6 or 7 years ago, so in 2020 you might be able to pick up a good deal on these. So is there a coral you think should have been on the list for a do or a don't? Let me know in the comments below. So just as important as what to add to your aquarium is to what to not add to your aquarium. So number 1 on the list is Xenia. I have a love-hate relationship with Xenia. They grow really, really fast when they grow. They look beautiful. They add nice motion, pulsing to the aquarium, and they can really take up a nice big space in your aquarium. The problem is they can take up a really nice big space in your aquarium, and then you have nothing left for anything else. I do know of, in my case, I had one predator that would actually eat Xenia for the person that's looking to get rid of Xenia, and that was the long-spined sea urchin. It might work for you. Every animal's different. Mine mowed down on all my Xenia. They're a good coral for beginners in that they survive really well and grow really fast. They're a bad coral for beginners because when they turn into intermediate reefers or advanced reefers, they have a tank full of Xenia that they can't get rid of. They kind of turn into a plague. Another coral to watch out for, because it can turn into a plague, is going to be your GSP or green star polyps. I actually have some of this in my tank at work, and it stays well managed and in the corner, unlike everybody else. So each aquarium's different. Don't ask me why. I would love to have it take over that entire half of the aquarium, but it doesn't want to. So, you know, you can't really always predict how these things are going to go, and that's kind of the fun of reefing. Some things work, some things don't. But be careful about GSP because it can take over your whole aquarium. You can just go on YouTube. There's plenty of videos of people that have GSP that's taken over their entire aquarium. It's beautiful. It looks like the most beautiful flowing grass of any aquarium on the planet, but it can turn into a plague. So just be careful with GSP, or find an easy way to maintain it onto one rock. If it starts getting its finger on another rock, you can just cut it off, but you will need to maintain that. Something beginner reefers that don't notice sometimes is a lot of the corals that come in the industry come in gold, which is brown, and green. There's a plethora of corals that are brown and green. All of these corals are beautiful. I'm just as guilty as everybody else, wanting to collect every single one, but you'll notice as you start collecting that you're going to end up with a tank that's mostly green and mostly gold. So especially when it comes to those two colors, really be selective and picky about what you put into your aquarium, because there's going to be more that you have options on there. When it comes to blue corals, there's not a whole lot. When it comes to orange corals, there's not a whole lot. Pink, not a whole lot. Purple, not a whole lot. But when it comes to gold or brown and green, there's plenty of those corals out there in the industry. So just weigh your options. You have plenty of choices to pick from, and just be picky. So what do you have to look forward to after you say, I've had a fish tank for 2 years or a year, and I want something a little more difficult, something to step up to? The first and most obvious for everybody that most people really love is Acropora. They come in a wide variety of shapes and colors and growth patterns, from tabling to stags to just everything under the sun. There is one particular that I really recommend, which is Green Slimer. It adds a really nice vibrant green to the aquarium, which is probably my favorite green, and it's a really hardy SPS, and it'll grow like wildfire, making big beautiful branches coming throughout your aquarium. Another thing to maybe step up to would be anemones or clams. I've never had any problems with anemones, whether it was the long tentacle anemones or the old quad color rose bubble tip anemones. They are hardy. They do sometimes try and walk into your power hands, which you need to be aware of as an intermediate reefer, but they had some really nice motion, and they always look good with clownfish, let's just be honest. And clams are probably another one that you might want to look into as an intermediate reefer. A lot of people don't have any issues with them. They're pretty easy. A lot of people set them on the sand beds. A lot of people recommend putting them in the rocks. I'm not going to judge. See what you like. But there is the Maximas, which are probably the prettiest, but there's the Durasas, which are probably the hardiest. So I'd start off with the Durasa if you're in an intermediate aquarium trying to get into clams and you like the way they look. Durasas are a really good stepping stone. If you like this video and you got some good out of it, this is my latest video and this is what Google recommends. Click that like and subscribe button so I can see you on the next episode.